Let's take a walk through the Holy Land with the Betchers.
This is going to be the final battle of the world. The battle between good and evil is going to take place at Megiddo. Now, in the footnote in the reference of my Bible, it said that John did not mean that it was actually going to take place here. He was using this as a symbol of the final battle of the world because it is actually very close to Mount Carmel. Mount Carmel, we're going to get to it here in a little bit. You can see it. But that is where the standoff between Elijah and the prophets of Baal took place. So John probably, and he said, that's right. You know, that's the only thing there. What they do when they land is they taxi, they've got elevators. They taxi into the elevator and they take the planes below ground. Everything is underground. There is nothing above ground other than the runway. And the reason for that is they're, within seconds of both the Lebanese, Syrian, and Jordan border here. They're well within, probably minutes of Egypt and well within an hour of both Iran and Iraq. So they don't want them knowing what they have there and how many planes they have there. This was the first stage from where the virgin olive oil came from. Then the olives would be transferred to the next stage, and they went through 5 stages of this. But this was the most pure stage right here. This was a guy, he was building tools, first century tools, like what would have been used by Joseph, Jesus' father, as a carpenter. And we climbed to a 3,300 foot, it was an old army post. You can still see the revetments and the gun emplacements here. They had abandoned it, so they had opened it up for people to come up here and look at. It was called the Mount Benetol killed in a battle with the Philistines. Their bodies were hung on the walls of Bethshan. The guide said this was the Fifth Avenue of commerce and trade at that time, referring to the Fifth Avenue in New York today, which is kind of the center of trade and commerce today. This would have been it at that time. It's been on earth since that time. This was a model of what Bethshan would have looked like. We're traveling further south along the Jordan River, the Jordan River Valley. This is Jericho. This is Jericho in the foreground here. And you can kind of see the fence there. Jericho is actually in the Palestinian West Bank today. We did not go into Jericho. It's almost like going into another country. We didn't have time to go into there today. He went in there and he found 7 clay pots. He reached into the clay pot and he pulled out a scroll. It was the Dead Sea Scrolls, the oldest writing of the Old Testament. Every book of the Old Testament is there except for the book of Esther. That is the only book that is not in the Dead Sea Scrolls. But all of them were found since then in those 10 caves around there. This was my June 4th, my birthday, my 60th birthday, and this made my birthday I'll never forget my 60th birthday. The guide had us get off of the bus a quarter of a mile before we got to Jerusalem. He said we were going to walk into Jerusalem the way Jesus did. So we did, and we got to this lookout over Jerusalem. Here is the city of Jerusalem, the walled city today. This is the Temple Mount, where both Solomon's temple and Herod's temple stood. The Dome of the Rock there today. This is the Kidron Valley flowing down through here. On this side is the Mount of Olives. Now at the time of Jesus, it stretched for between 2 and 2.5 miles along this side of the mountain here. Of the original, not the original city walls, not from David and Solomon's Jerusalem, but from the Jerusalem at the time of Jesus, the old city walls of Jerusalem. This is one of the original city streets from the city of Jerusalem. This is the Wailing Wall. You probably all have seen the Wailing Wall or heard of it. It's 1,600 feet. It's the most sacred place in Jewish religion. It's almost like they're crying. It is divided now. The women were on this side, the men on this side. Now you could go up there and you could touch it, and you could. Some people were bringing little slips with prayers on them and slipping them into the gaps in the wall. Or you could do that if you wanted to. whatever you wanted to do there. A group that was down there at the time when we were there, and when they came out, a lot of them were crying, and we couldn't understand, what was going on. Well, we went down into there, we all got down into here, and he had them turn off the lights. And he said, at the time of Jesus, and we know even dating back further than that, Joseph was held in a cistern. He said they held prisoners in cisterns, awaiting trial. Jesus probably spent part of Maundy, Thursday night in this cistern. And he turned on a flashlight, and he said, now imagine you're Jesus. Imagine it's Maundy, Thursday night. You know what's going to happen to you tomorrow. Your friends have all left you. One of them has betrayed you. And he read Psalm 88. Now when you get home, I'm not going to read Psalm 88, but when you get home, imagine you're in that situation and read Psalm 88. And then think that that was written 1,000 years before the time of Jesus. It is now about a half a mile to the west of there, more towards Jericho. Jericho is actually right over here. In fact, the whole time that we were there, it was very hot. This day that we were there, now, like I said, Mount Nebo was about 3,300 feet high, so it probably wasn't that warm there. But down in the valley down there, it was well over 100, and very, very humid, very hazy, so you couldn't see very much. But the guide said that on a clear day, you can see Jerusalem, and you can see a good share of the land of Israel today from the trip to go to Petra. Not so much from a biblical standpoint, but it is just unbelievable. It was named one of the 7 wonders of the world in 2007. You walk down through this seat, this shaft, for 2.5 miles into the city of Petra. And the reason that that's the only entrance into the city of Petra. And the reason that it was chosen was, once again, very easy to protect. All they had to have was a few people sitting up on top of this and dropping rocks on whoever tried to get in there, whoever was not allowed into there.
Thanks for taking us along.